Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome to episode 5 of this Salah series. One time, one of the companions narrates that one time the Prophet ﷺ went out and the companions, a group of the companions were discussing al-Masih al-Dajjal, the Dajjal. They were talking about the Dajjal, reviewing what the Prophet ﷺ had taught them about. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Shouldn't I tell you what I'm more afraid over you from? Shouldn't I tell you what is something that I'm more afraid for you from the Dajjal?" So the companion said, "Yes." So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ash-shirkul khafi, ash-shirkul khafi, hidden shirk. And then he continued to explain it. He said, for a person to stand up in prayer and they beautify or decorate their prayer. In another narration, they make their salah longer, or increase in their salah because they see someone looking at them, because they know someone's watching them, another person sees them praying, so they make it better, they make it longer, they increase in it, they beautify it, or make it look better, make it look nicer, make their salah longer. In other words, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us this type of showing off, this type of riyah, where someone is, their intention in their salah is not sincere for the sake of Allah, but rather because someone is looking at them, they're making their salah longer or look better. That's a form of shirk. Again, we're not going to go into the details between major shirk and minor shirk, but this is this type of action actually results in a person's deeds not being accepted. If it's not sincere for the sake of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't accept that good deed that we do. Because as we know, every good deed has two requirements. Every good deed that we do as Muslims needs to meet two conditions. It has two requirements that it has to meet in order for it to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order for us to be rewarded for it on the Day of Judgment by Allah. And the first condition is that it has to be sincere for the sake of Allah alone, 100% pure and sincere for the sake of Allah alone. And the other condition is that it has to be done in accordance with the teachings of Islam, in accordance with the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And so we see the Prophet ﷺ is warning us of riyah, of showing off, of doing something, or even if someone started off and their intention was for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they've noticed, or they know that there's someone there watching them or looking at them or can see them while praying, and they just beautify their salah, make it longer, just so that they impress that other person, just to show off in front of other people. And the Prophet ﷺ is warning us. Number one, he called it shirk, so we have to be very mindful and cautious from that. And number two, the Prophet ﷺ said it's hidden. Why? Because a person's intention is something between them and Allah. No one can see what intention someone has in their heart. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is in people's hearts. Only Allah knows what's in our hearts, what intentions we have when we're doing a good deed. People see the outwardly actions. People see the good or bad deeds that people do on the outside. But people don't see people's intentions. And when it comes with to bad deeds, we'll mention this as a side note, because sometimes people think that a good intention sometimes makes a bad deed okay or good, when in reality a bad deed is bad in of itself, regardless of someone's intention. If someone has a bad intention when they're doing a bad deed, it's a bad deed. That's worse. Someone has a good intention when they're doing a bad deed, however that may work. I don't know really what people even mean when they say they have a good intention when when someone does a bad deed. But in any case, a good intention does not rectify a bad deed, doesn't make a bad deed good. And if someone has a bad intention and they're doing a bad deed, then that makes it even worse. But in any case, if someone's doing a good deed with the right intention, with it sincerely for the sake of Allah alone, and doing that deed in accordance with the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, then it will be accepted by Allah and they'll be rewarded for it on the Day of Judgment. But if someone does a good deed for the wrong intention, if it's not sincere, then Allah will not accept that on the Day of Judgment. And if someone does a good deed sincerely for the sake of Allah, but it's not done in accordance with the teachings of the deen, let's say someone does an innovation a bid'ah, and that's something that he might do sincerely for the sake of Allah, but it's not from the deen, so it will not be accepted by Allah on the Day of Judgment. The person won't be rewarded for it. And Prophet ﷺ mentioned in plenty of hadith warning us of innovation, and he said, whoever does a deed, that's not in accordance with this matter of ours, and is not in accordance with the teaching of Islam, that it will be rejected. So the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith again is warning us from riya, from showing off, and that's why it's important for us to make also a distinction. That's one thing is for someone to show off in front of others or do good to show off. That's one thing. That's not the right intention. But the Prophet ﷺ was asked, sometimes someone might do, what about a person who does, some good deeds and people thank him for it? Someone does a good deed and people praise him or thank him for it. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Tilka ajilu bushra al-mu'min." This is early glad tidings for the believer. This is early glad tidings for the believer. So just in of itself, people thanking or praising someone for doing good isn't something bad for the person, but rather it's glad tidings for them, as long as they have done that for the sake of Allah. But whereas people themselves doing it for that praise, then that's where the problem becomes. That's where the issue is. And if anything, we know from the other hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that part of thanking Allah, part of truly thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to thank the people. So if someone does something good, we should thank them for it. And there's nothing wrong in that. And if someone does something good for the sake of Allah and people praise them or thank them for it, then that's glad tidings for them. But what the Prophet ﷺ is warning us of is to make sure our intention is sincere. We do everything for the sake of Allah alone, and we don't, we don't let riya enter into our, or showing off enter into our good deeds. We do them for the sake of Allah alone, not to show off in front of other people. Barakallahu fikum, jazakumullah khaira, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.